first job on Wall Street was as a sales assistant, which is a fancy name for secretary. Today, I'm the president and co-founder of a Boston-based investment firm. You might be wondering, how did I get from secretary to hedge fund manager? The very simple answer is that I disrupted myself. When I arrived in New York after graduating from college, my husband and I went there so he could get a PhD at Columbia. But I would not have chosen to go to New York. I know many of you would, but I would not have. I was terrified. I truly was terrified. I wouldn't go anywhere without him for at least a week. But eventually necessity took over. He started his graduate coursework. I needed to go out and find a job so that we could put food on the table, and so I started looking for work. I thought, we're in New York, I think I'm going to work on Wall Street. Now, there was just actually 5 little problems. Number 1, I was a music major in college. Number 2, I hadn't gone to an Ivy League. Number 3, I didn't have any connections in the city. And number 4, I had no confidence, as you've just heard. And number 5, I was a female. I had one thing going for me, though. I could type really fast. On a good day, I could type 80 to 85 words per minute. And so I got the best job that I could, and that was as a secretary. Now, across the desk, or across the way from my desk, on the 21st floor of 1345 Avenue of the Americas, don't you all remember the address of your very first job? Well, this was the address of my first job. There was a bullpen. Now, I want you to picture this. This is the era of Bonfire of the Vanities that Tom Wolfe wrote about. This bullpen was essentially a locker room for 20-something guys aspiring to be masters of the universe if only they could open one more account. Every day they would show up, they would dial, people would hang up, they would dial again, people would hang up, they would dial again, and if they got someone on the line, the pressure was so intense, testosterone ran so high, that they went for the hard sell, and inevitably there was a lot of smack talk, some of which I can repeat here. One thing that they would say to people is, you know, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that this is a great investment. I'd always know the prospects were waffling when they would say to them, throw down your pom-poms and get in the game. And I heard that a lot because there were a lot of waffling prospects. One day, after hearing, throw down your pom-poms and get in the game, yet one more time, I thought to myself, maybe I need to throw down my pom-poms and get in the game. I'm going to be working 5 years, if not 10 years. My husband's PhD, then a postdoc. And then I asked myself, why would I make X if 10X is a possibility? That was the beginning. That was the beginning of me disrupting myself. I began to take courses at night, accounting and finance. 2 years later, I was able to cross that often unbridgeable divide from admin to professional, and I became an investment banking analyst. I was thrilled. A few years later, I decided to disrupt myself again. I moved from investment banking, and if you know that world, moving from investment banking to equity research was a step down. But 10 years later, after climbing the ladder and becoming a double-ranked institutional investor analyst, I decided to disrupt myself again by leaving to become an entrepreneur. My boss said to me, what are you doing? You are going to regret this. But that led to the investment firm that I co-founded a few years ago. What will I do to disrupt myself next? I don't know. But that was the beginning of me disrupting myself and the possibilities that I saw for myself. And that's my message to you today. Disrupt yourself. Now, for those of you not so familiar with this term, let me talk to you about it for just a moment. Disruptive innovation is a term that was coined by Professor Clayton Christensen at the Harvard Business School, who's also the managing member of our investment firm, Rose Park Advisors. At its simplest, disruptive innovation is a low-end or new market innovation that eventually upends an industry. Here are a few examples. Blockbuster. Do any of you remember going to Blockbuster on a Friday night and renting 2 or 3 videos and watching them over the weekend, and then on Sunday or Monday you'd go to the Dropbox and you'd be done. Well, now the films come to us via Netflix. Netflix, disruptive blockbuster.